How long have you lived in Rowlett, and what's your favorite thing about this community?
Hi, I'm Debbie Bobbitt, and I am running for Rowlett City Council, Place 1. I have lived in Rowlett with my husband and my kids since the high school was built. That was one of the pulls for us to move to Rowlett, was a high school that was not Lakeview, where my kids were going. They wanted something new, and my middle son was a senior, so he was to be the first senior graduating class there. And that was one of the main reasons that we moved to Rowlett, was for a new school that was not as crowded as Lakeview and was close to home.
How has your background, work experience, and/or volunteer service equipped you to serve on City Council?
My background in volunteer service goes back many years. Even before my kids were born, I've always volunteered. That's just in part of my, I guess that's part of my DNA. My grandmother did it, my Grammy did it. It's always been in my family. And we've always given back, and that's the way I was raised. And that's why I do that. And I have everywhere I moved to, and I have moved a lot since my father was in the service, and even after I got out of high school and got married, I always followed through with helping others. Very, very important.
What are some objectives that you want to accomplish during your term in office?
As you know, I have been on the City Council here in Rowlett before for two consecutive 3-year terms. They were very busy years. It was a very turbulent time in Rowlett's history. We had a lot of changes physically and within our staff, within our council. City managers changed. It was very much in constant motion. There was always something going on in town. We didn't have a very strong system in Rowlett to follow rules and codes, and everything was new. Our town was growing and bursting at the seams, so we didn't really have a good line to follow to keep us in order or to expect the unexpected. So after I got off City Council, I said I am going to take a break and just relax for a year or so and decide how I want to proceed. Do I want to continue in my work, or do I want to retire, or do I just want to go back and serve the city in the capacity of a city council member? And I said, I'm just going to take a break, and I'm just going to do a job that I want to do on my own time. And that's exactly what I did. I said, I'll take a year off. And then it got to be 2 years. And then it got to be 3 years. And I took a few steps back into the government realm and joined all my clubs and went to the meetings and kept abreast of, with all my friends, what was going on in the county and the state. And it just sucked me back in. I just love working for cities, counties, state, and my state of Texas especially. But even on the federal level, I like that. And it's just something that intrigues me. I know a lot of things about the government that I would really like to help in. In the city government, I started thinking, well, maybe I should run for council. I've done that before. I'm very experienced. I have an idea of what's going on. It's not something that's new to me. However, I do realize that many things have changed since I've been on council. And I do look forward to finding out what has happened since I have been on council and now that I'm on, and what changes have been made. That difference there will help me understand better where I can fit in, because I have that background in there.
What programs would you propose to help deter criminal activity in Rowlett?
Criminal activity in Rowlett, actually when I first moved to Rowlett, it's one of the other reasons that we moved to Rowlett, because it was the country, and we only had that one stop sign up there at Main and Rowlett Road. Anyway, that's why we did come here. Our kids were becoming of the age where they were teens, and we wanted to get away from any type of element that had to do with criminal activity, to have the story told correctly. Anyway, we were looking all around Rowlett, and I did not see much crime here. I was a den leader at that time. For Back Elementary, I was living in Garland, and I knew a lot of kids and people here. And I really wanted to move to Rowlett, and this is where we came because there was no criminal activity here. We moved to Rowlett, and it's like within 3 or 5 years, I did start seeing some element. But anywhere you go in America, anywhere in the world, there's going to be a criminal element. What you can do to prevent it, probably not a whole lot, but you certainly can work with it and figure out and do some strategic thinking on what type of crime that you're having a problem with, and develop programs. And sometimes there's programs out there that are already in place that you don't have to, start a whole new spoke on each wheel of a type of criminal activity, because it's already been invented. And we just needed to learn those lessons the hard way. But right now, I know that there's panhandling. I have never, ever been frightened in Rowlett. I do know that there is an element of danger here, but it's not like living in, say, Dallas or somewhere like that. It's a different type. It's uncommon, but it does happen, and it is becoming more frequently. I think we need to bind together more, maybe make our neighborhood watches a little stronger. We need to be more of a, we used to be a down hometown and we knew our neighbors and everything, and we're losing that. So we need to come together as a community, as a town, and work with our police. I think that'll really help a lot to deter and to let people know that we mean business here in Rowlett, and we don't want that type of thing going on here. We want to have a nice, safe place, which I know will never, ever be perfect, but we can work with it.
What key areas of infrastructure in Rowlett do you believe need immediate attention, and how would you propose those be addressed?
When I was on council before, my public safety guys and my fire were some of my favorite, but my best group that I liked to work with was my people who worked in the ditches and in the grass and doing all the water. Public, they were wonderful. They were great. I mean, if there was a big program coming up or a big activity coming up with the Public Works Department, I was right there. I was the one who said, "What? We have a pipe burster? I want to go see that." I went all the way over off of Casey Road, and I was there right when they were doing that, and I watched it, and I paid attention. I went to the lift stations. I did everything because I found it so interesting, and I actually loved that. And those folks, bless their hearts, they work so hard in the heat and the cold and the everything, and they are some hard workers, and we cannot show our appreciation for them enough.
If given the opportunity, what changes would you recommend be made to Rowlett's comprehensive plan?
Our comprehensive plan has taken a lot of beatings over the years. There is so much to do in this town that it is hard to get caught up, and it's going to be a long time before we do get caught up. I know some of our original tract homes were built with some infrastructure that was missing or was not there or was subpar. I don't think that our zoning and our critical care of our infrastructure was there, and we're having to play the catch-up game. We were playing the catch-up game when I first started on council, and who knows how long it had been before that. We can try and try and try, but until we have an ability for us to make some money as a city, be it through, it's going to have to be through economic development, actually, because that's where we will get some funding, unless there's going to be a big grant coming up that's going to pay for all of our infrastructure needs. And we're not just talking a few million here and there. We've got some serious work to do, and as we grow, that price tag is going to become bigger and bigger.
What items of consideration would you give to a zoning case that comes before the council?
Zoning, I love zoning. I actually love zoning. When I first came on council, I knew nothing about zoning, and I know a lot about zoning now. It was like we went through zoning 101. And so zoning is interesting because you can go to the planning and zoning and you can hear all the pros and cons, and you can hear the developer, and you can hear the residents or whatever it is. But when you look at a plat And when you start understanding, and it was lucky for me because I used to be a draftsman, and I worked in engineering at the phone company. So a lot of that stuff I knew. Here's the water, here's the sewer, here's that, here's this transmission line or whatever. And I knew a lot about all that type of things. But when you put it together in the city, and you can tell this part of the town is old, this part is new, this is the way the houses should be. And there's all those rules that they always, say, well, we've got to follow the rule of this and that. And then me having that background in telecommunications, then I know where all those right-of-ways were and all that. So it made it kind of easy for me to understand that. But our zoning can be very difficult to understand sometimes. And we are getting ready to do a recode. We're going to recode Rowlett. And I'm thinking, my first thought was, oh my goodness, all the people that just finally learned about our zoning, and now we're going to give them all new names. And I just am afraid that if we don't get the word out correctly, and if we don't have like classes for our vendors and good website information, it's going to be pretty tough at the beginning, I think. But our new Manal has really done a real good, hard job putting this together. But it's in her heart, and that's what she wants to do. So we'll go to that. She's going to have an event. I forget the date, but it's coming up, and I would advise everyone to go to it that can go. And I would like to give our developers an opportunity to have their own recode class, if that's possible.
What types of economic development incentives do you believe are right for Rowlett?
Economic incentives are difficult. I think there was a point when I was on council first that we were giving out economic incentives by the dozens. We were really, really very easygoing, and we would say, oh yeah, here's this, and we'll give you this, and I think we were too easy on people. We were just too, we didn't have a plan. We thought everything would follow along as what we thought and how it would work. It didn't work. So our plans, and I'm not against incentives, and I think it should go to the businesses. A developer for a neighbor, like a tract home or neighborhood, might be doable if maybe they're going to put in a light, or they're going to be doing something big like that. I think though it should be more for the businesses or corporations that come to Rowlett, and we can offer some incentives. I just don't want to give them our whole town, in the deal.
What types of development do you foresee for Rowlett's remaining land?
Rowlett is a town that is running out of land for us to use that we could sell, that is sellable. It could be a family that owns it. It could be a corporation that owns the property. It could be land owned by the school district or whatever. We must be very, very careful in the choosing of the type of business or the type of land, home ownership that we want to put there. We just have to be careful because there is so little land yet, and we have to make sure that we remember that if for a business that's coming to Rowlett, we must rely on them for our taxes. We need to have them as a benefit to us, and as much as we are a benefit to them. Their taxes that they bring in will bring in much more than in a household could, or an apartment complex, or a senior living facility, anything like that. We do need some businesses in Rowlett that will be here for the long run and that will benefit our citizens far and wide. If they want to move here, I would just love to see us to have a technical institute or a higher level of learning school, like a college, which would be nice, which we had thought about before in Rowlett, but it never came to fruition. We were at one time thinking of a call center, which would be nice, but we know that call centers come and go so quick that's not such a good idea anymore. But we need to think about the diversification of the type of things that we are going to put on the North Shore area. When it used to be the rule, the big rule in Rowlett, we're saving North Shore for businesses, for big corporations, where people could not have to leave town and go to work, that they could stay here in Rowlett and a living wage could be earned in Rowlett with a good, solid job with benefits. That was the ultimate goal when I was on council, and we kind of got off track of that. So I would like to see us address that as well.
Rowlett has significant facilities needs across many of its departments. How do you prioritize the facilities needs that exist, and why?
Rowlett has so many needs for our facilities. Some of our facilities are new, but many of them are old. And not that they're old age-wise, but old technical-wise. And we have so many, we need to prioritize them. We need to start at the lowest level first, I think, because once we can get those going, it's a good example of what's going to be needed in the future. We need to remember that what we put in now, in 5 years, it's going to be outdated, and it will be what we consider old. So I know that we need to perhaps put in more cameras. We need more things like better lighting, because we need that for safety. We need different types of lights. People talk a lot about our roads. We do have a PCI system that was in place when I was on council, and it was very long and tedious to do a PCI report. We do now have a machine now that'll come through and zip through and get it done within a month or so, and I'm very, very pleased with that. But there are some roads in Rowlett that haven't been touched in quite a few years, and with the amount of traffic that we get through here, one problem on I-30, where do all those people go? Well, they come to Rowlett, not just to shop, but to use our streets, and they take a beating. They take a beating, and I don't think people realize how much a beating they take, and our asphalt roads do not hold up to that in trucks. And I think there was a movement in council this past time talking about Rowlett Road and 18-wheelers. Well, we know they have to go up and down there to deliver some, to the stores, but they don't need to be a cut through, for it's not like a hazardous route, around 635. But those are some of the needs that we need. I do have something that I'm very concerned with, and I have been concerned with a while, and that is the golf course. We have such a wonderful attribute there to the city. It is a beautiful golf course. It's in a area that used to be way out in the country. It's got wonderful trees. It's the most beautiful place, but we can't seem to get, when I was on council, I was on the golf board, and we could never ever get the management company to work exactly with us, and that is a concern, and that's an asset to us. And that's just like any other thing, like the cement or the concrete at a park or bathrooms for the ballparks. It's an amenity, and we need to keep it up. And if we don't have a managing company that's taking care of the golf the way that it needs to be taken care of, that is a mark for us. And people will not come if it continues to be. And when I recently have started going back to those meetings, and I'm afraid I see it in the same place, and I'm very concerned about that. And that's just an instance of things that I think need to be addressed. We don't have just big things. It's our small problems that we have that need to be addressed as far as taking care of. And that's our city. We need to be known for something. Right now, we're not known for much of anything anymore. We're just a drive-through on the freeway.
Are there any departments, programs, or functions that the city does not currently have, which you feel would add a level of service and improve quality of life for residents?
In Rowlett, we have a lot of services that we offer. I want to talk about Parks and Rec for a minute. There was an opportunity for us at one time at Herforth Park to put in a skate park. A lot of people did not want to do that. They thought it was horrible. They thought it was going to bring crime and all kinds of problems. There used to be a skate park there next to the swimming pool. That whole area, there was baseball fields, hockey, swimming, and then skate park. Well, they some of that was misrepresented to the people. They said the police called this many times this year, and it just blew it out of proportion. I think that Garland, who now has the most outstanding skate park, is going to reap very much a good reputation, and in that field they're going to have all the money coming in. That's a stream of money for them because they can hold all their races or whatever they're called in skateboarding activities, and they'll have food and all that. And we missed out on that opportunity. There was another person on council with me. We had scoped out an area at her first park where it would have fit perfectly. We had went to many of the skate park companies, did a lot of research, and our kids in Rowlett, between junior high and high school, sometimes they are not. You have to either be in the band or you have to be on the Spanish team or, aqua sports or baseball or whatever. There was nothing for the other kids. They had absolutely nothing to do in Rowlett. Many of them did skate. Well, they had the moniker of being troublemakers, but we missed out. But we actually had a park that we were talking to. We didn't make any negotiations, but we had a cement company at the time who had offered to pour the cement for us for free. And that was just such a hard blow for me personally, because that would have been an activity for our kids in the downtown area to do, where they could go, where they would be safe, where it would be on the route of the buses. It was there by the train. They could come from Garland. They could do everything, and I think we missed a great opportunity there. That's some of the things in our parks department that I think that we need to remember, that we're not building just for a senior facility. We need to take care of our people who are here now, our kids. These are the kids that we need to have a place for them to, we want them to stay here. We want them to live here and grow here, and not go to Dallas and share an apartment with 5 other people so they can pay rent. Let them enjoy Rowlett like we do. Like, we love Rowlett. This is our community. We want something for them to do. That's something that our Parks Department, I think, has a opening that needs to be attended to. We wouldn't have our kids roaming the streets at night if they had something to do that was really of interest that could be a benefit to them and our community. That's something that I was thinking of. We do have our animal shelter, which is wonderful, and we're working on that. That's going to be on a bond thing about getting a new animal shelter. A new animal shelter would be wonderful, but do we need it at this time? Do we have the space? Those are all the questions that voters need to think about as a city. Every town has a problem with animals, population growing, and poor little animals get lost and they have to be taken to places. Could be maybe to offset those. Maybe we could work with the GISD to have the kids that come in there that want to, be vets, and that would give them an opportunity. We need to be more creative in thinking of ways to make things work for Rowlett that doesn't come at a high cost, as if we were going to reinvent the wheel and start something brand new. So you've got the animal shelter, you've got things that kids need to do, activities for seniors. There's tons that they could do. I know they love to play pickleball. I know they love to do and play cards and bingo and bunko and all that, and it's wonderful. But I would like to see more things for our community to do. More things. Not that we're not doing anything, but we've got to be known for something in Rowlett, and we need to do it up big time, because we have so much to offer. People are retiring nowadays. When my grandmother was 64 years old, I thought she was really old, and she went to her garden club, and that was about it. 60-year-olds now, they're kayaking. I mean, it's just amazing. We've got so much to offer and so much to do here. We've got to share it, and we've got to show that. We need to shine and give our people more opportunities, because we're supposed to be living on the lake and having fun. This is a great place to grow, We need to make that come true.
Are there any departments, programs, or functions that the city currently has, which you view as unnecessary or extraneous?
Actually, I think that Rowlett's ability to provide programs, every program we have is needed and has a place in Rowlett. I would like for, our water department, our guys who go out in the field and our girls that go out in the fields, I don't think they realize it, but they're a representation of Rowlett. Like when I work at wherever I have worked and I've had a badge, I knew that when I went into a store or if I went to a restaurant that I was representing what was on my badge. If I go out and I'm wearing a Rowlett shirt, I'm a representation of that city. I wish that we could make the camaraderie and the pride in Rowlett more available to our people, our employees. We do a lot for our employees. We have the health program. We have all kinds of incentives for them. But I would like to instill into them a little bit more self-esteem about the city that they work for.
Taking into account the cost of any proposals you've already mentioned, what ideas do you have to help lessen the tax burden on residents and commercial entities in the city?
Taxes is a big word. It's the big T. I think people are afraid of it and they don't want it. But in reality, taxes is our bread for our city. That is our paycheck. Now, I am not saying, and I'm not going to advocate that we get rid of taxes totally, because I know we have to have them. It's the evil that we have to have, and taxes pays for our city to function properly. And if our city is not functioning properly, then it's not a good city. It's not a place you would want to live. You wouldn't have trash service, you wouldn't have sewer, water, whatever. I think that raising our taxes is a hard pill to swallow sometimes, but once you know how things work, and I think that our budget this year will show how we can lower our taxes, but still keep our bread, our weekly earnings, our monthly earnings at a level that we can live within. But once we start getting too big and we don't have taxes to keep up with our expenses, it's not going to do us any. We'll have an unbalanced budget, and I would hate to see us do that. We need to be creative, like I said, about parks and things. We need to start using our noggins for a change and see what are some other different ways that we can increase our taxes. Be it through incentives, it might be through incentives where we can do some creative thinking there. I just would love to see a department that would have the idea department where you could say, oh, I've been doing some research and I've found out this and that. Those are the things that I would like to see. I would also like to see a department. I know that we have KRB, Keep Rowlett Beautiful in Rowlett, but I would like to see us partner more as a city for taking care of the environment and for addressing those needs that have been going on since I moved here. That we have, before we had Keep Rowlett Beautiful, we had a program. It was called Environmental Services Corporation. That was our committee that we had. They've disbanded that, but we were concerned with if there was a leak or if there were the trash that comes down from the creeks into the lake. Well, it comes right through Rowlett, and I can guarantee you if you went to my house right now and you went to the lake, it has a little, like a little, I call it a beach area, but it's not a beach area, but it's an indentation in the side of the lake. And when the creeks are full of trash and it rains and it comes down, that's where it's right there in front of my house. And what happens with that? Mosquitoes, and snakes. That's where they live. And it's not a place I like to go down into. And I know it's dangerous down there. And I think that even though we are not responsible for the outside into the water, that trash is a safety hazard, a safety and health hazard. I remember when I first came on council, we had a big rain, and what came down the creek in front of my house, now that had already been told that they wouldn't come pick up anything because the city of Dallas didn't want to do that, but there was this huge refrigerator floating, and it came in that little cove and ended in front of my house, and I reported it again to the city of Dallas and our city manager at the time, and they the city came out in an unmarked car from Dallas and took the car away. I mean, took the refrigerator away. But I said, while you're here, because there were 2 or 3 guys, and I said, while you're here, could you please pick up these tires and some of this? There was like great big pieces of wood, and somebody's mailbox came down. There was all kinds of things. I used to get some medical waste stuff, and they said, no, we're only here for the refrigerator. So if there was some kind of way that we could work with the city of Dallas to stop it either from coming, which was when I was on Keep Rowlett Beautiful way back in the early 90s, to stop up that stuff from coming down from the other cities before it comes down to Rowlett, and dumps it in the lake and in front of my yard, and everybody else on the shoreline by me. I do know that we have a hired part-time person who does clean up shore, but they never clean up those type of areas. They clean up the area where they're clean already. So that's an area I think we need to work more in, because if you're going to have a beautiful city on the lakes side of Lake Ray Hubbard, we need to have a place presentable that's clean and beautiful and pristine.
Please share your financial background and elaborate on your qualifications to oversee the city's $100 million plus annual budget.
Actually, I had to think about that, because I know one of the requirements to be a city council member is that your requirement was that you had to live here a certain amount of time and didn't owe any money. So that was not part of the question. So I didn't want people to feel like to be on city council you need to be this financial wizard, and no, you don't. I just wanted to make that clear. But then after I got thinking about it, yes, of course, if you're going to hire someone to work your city, you need to know a little bit about finances. I am lucky that I have a bachelor's degree in business administration, and my master's is in organizational management, and I have been through this budget process 6 times now. And I watch other cities, and I've worked in many organizations where I was ahead, of the planning, grants. I know about budgeting. So that has been to my advantage, because I know what to look for. But someone coming brand new and wanted to be on city council, I didn't want them to feel like they weren't qualified. So let me tell you, when you go through a budget with the city, they give you everything, and if you have any questions, you can ask a question that you don't understand, and it will be explained to you until they will drill it into your head until you understand. Because if you're going to be working for the city and representing the city, you need to know what's in the budget, and you need to know how it works and where the money comes from, and why this particular tax only goes for this specific thing, and this particular budget line item can only be used on a certain thing, and you can't borrow from this line item to that line item in some cases. So that's my background. I am very confident in working with the budgets, and that's one of the reasons that I need to be on council again, because I want to measure all that and keep that in my mind, because I'm going to get old one day, like tomorrow. No, I'm kidding. I need to know what's going on in my city, because that's me. I like to be aware of what's going on in my city. I have heard over the years, they're doing something funny in the city, but you go back to the budget and you look at it, and if there's any questions, then a city council member or a resident can go in and question that. I have never seen anything that has been out of the ordinary in a Rowlett city budget. We get awards every year. I'm very confident in it, but don't be afraid of the budgets. It's big numbers, but it isn't any different than compare it to your own budget at home. I know I have $20 this week to do all my bills. I have $30 this week. You know that when you go over, you're going to have a deficit in your balanced budget. So you can handle that. You need to take care of that. And just knowing what is there and what isn't there, and what you can do and can't do, is going to be in your favor.
What vision do you have for the future of Rowlett? How would you ensure that vision is implemented long-term?
I'm glad that we have a vision for Rowlett. There were many years where we thought we had a vision, and we had to think about that, and we even had some some names suggested to us to call. This is our vision. Some of the names were outrageously laughable, and some of them just didn't fit Rowlett. I don't think when I was on council that we really knew what we were doing in Rowlett, and we didn't have anything to be recognized by. We didn't have a face value. And then we had some things in Rowlett, like like our tornado, like we had a murder, we had several, and those are things that we don't always want to be remembered as. I personally want to know that when people are coming in on 30 to the Dallas County from Rockwall on 30, they'll say, look, here's Sapphire Bay. It's the most beautiful place when you come in to Dallas County, and it's Rowlett, and it's not Garland. It's Rowlett that's going to be the first thing that greets them, and I want it to be a beautiful place where people will stop, and they will plan to go there to stay for a few days to visit and to have fun and relax and enjoy. That's the vision I have for Rowlett, is to be a destination place. And I know that we have heard that word before, but we almost lost it there for a while, but we have that back, and we need to continue with that. But we do, as Rowlett, need to come together as a friendly city, a safe city, and a place to grow, and a place to retire. And that's my vision, is to retire here. I'll live here forever.
Please share any closing comments with our viewers.
So I want to thank you very much for doing this. Jeff, you have been doing these interviews for several years now, and we've never had it before. You are our originator of this, so I appreciate that. I am, once again, Debby Bobbitt. That is Debby, Bobbitt with 2 B's and 2 T's. I will be on the ballot in May for City Council, place 1, and I will be number 2. And I wanted to let you know those dates for early voting begins, believe it or not, April 24th, and it will go until May 2nd. And then our date for election is May 6th. It is a Saturday, and the polls will be open from 7 to 7. I would be glad if you came there and visited me. I will be there. I do appreciate you listening to my interview, and I'm not very at ease in front of a camera, but if you see me in person, it'll be much better. You can give me a call at 214-282-1914. I do love to talk to you on the phone. I do have an email. It is Debby Bobbitt, Debby, Bobbitt, campaign@protonmail.com. I will check my mail there. Let's see, what else can I tell you? I am really looking forward to serving Rowlett again, and I do appreciate your vote. I covet your vote, and I would love for you to vote for me. If you have any questions, feel free to call me. I am available, and I will answer my phone calls. Thank you.